Good morning, everyone. We'll wait a minute or two for people to catch up so that people can join in. It's lovely to have this time. So I'll just settle down after Mass. You might think I need to, probably do. Nice cup of coffee, very posh cake to have with my cup of coffee today. I hope when we go back to tea and coffee as normal, we have that kind of standard of refreshments. Will be very nice. I'm just trying to see what people said after Mass, commented after Mass, just so we don't lose any comments. Just let me set that up so that I can see. It's not coming through. Never mind. We'll give me a minute or two and then we'll start our little chat together. There we are. Recent posts, Trinity Sunday Mass, here we are. Funny day today. It doesn't quite know what to do weather-wise. It's gone very warm since Mass started, so we might be in for a nice afternoon. Who knows? I'm just going through some of the comments, setting it up so I can read the comments that came during. Joe Swarbrick thought Father Dougal was on the altar after Mass. Well, yes, quite possibly. Had a silly moment. I think you're allowed a silly moment once a week. In fact, you're probably allowed a silly moment once a day, to be honest. It's probably good to have a silly moment every day, especially at this time when those of us who live on our own, it's nice to have a silly moment. So look, it's nice to have this time to chat. Thank you to everyone who's chatted something. Made a comment during Mass. I'm just going to look through that. Again, it's wonderful to think of all the different people who are able to be with us during Mass. People from all across the world, which is something that, it's one of the things we'll learn, isn't it? I hope that, we can find a way of keeping this going. I mean, we will, because we've got the webcam here. So even if we don't carry on doing Facebook forever, it's it'll be great. So I mean, hopefully we can all stay together in some way. I'm just being distracted by the things on the comments during Mass, but I'll be with you all in a moment, so please don't worry. Maureen O'Brien there commenting, it's like having a house mass every day. I mean, it is. I mean, I was up early this morning and I was preparing a draft of a letter that the Archbishop wants to send to the priests in terms of what we might or might not do about reopening churches. And one of the things that I put in the letter is about, we shouldn't quickly give up all this praying at home, because it's been a very special grace, hasn't it, of these strange times that maybe lots of people have prayed at home in a way they may never have done for a long time. I mean, we'd lost the pattern of family prayer. You don't gather around and say the rosary last thing at night. I mean, not that my family ever did, but some families did. And it would be a shame, if we've found a new way of praying at home, that we're too quick to give it up. So that's, I think, very important for us to reflect on. It's one of the things the synod certainly helps us to to think about. I mean, it's a bit like, as I said at Mass. So it's, we're discovering, I think, afresh, renewing our understanding of God. And that's a very powerful gift for us. So, I think that's very special. I hope I'm going to stop reading these because there's too many of them. So I'm going to stop because we won't have a chance for a chat. I'll read the things that people are saying now. So thank you for joining us for this little time together. I was thinking about, a lot of my week this last week has been doing work for the diocese, preparing for if and when the churches can open. And it was a funny announcement. I mean, it's bizarre. I just wonder, to make an announcement like that at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, a minister standing on a bridge with St. Paul's in the background. I don't know. I wonder. I just wonder sometimes. But, and we have to be careful. We have to think carefully what we're going to do, whether it's the right thing to do. And I know lots of people want to be able to come into church, and I want to open the church. The Archbishop wants to, but we're going to be very cautious. So, watch this space, and we'll see what happens. So, pray for him making that decision. Pray for those of us who are working with him that we're doing the donkey work. That's fine. But so as soon as we know anything, I'll let you know. But certainly, what we will need is we will need volunteers who can, be welcomers. We'll need 2 people every time the church is open. So if you can do that, please do send an email to the parish office, ring and leave a message, or I'll answer the phone. Don't ring in the next 10-15 minutes because I won't answer the phone then. But we do need volunteers across all different times. So if you can put when you can do it, that would be great, so that we're ready, please God, for whenever that comes. I had to ring an undertaker's from somewhere London way this week about a funeral a week on Monday. A lady who used to live in the parish, whose daughter died in the parish, whose other daughter was brought up in the parish, and they've moved down south. And her funeral's next week on Monday. And I rang the undertaker and I said, hello, this is Father Philip Inch from Liverpool. She said, I know you're from Liverpool. I said, how do you know I'm from Liverpool? She said, I can tell by your accent. And I thought to myself, my mother will be turning in her grave. and then I rang the daughter of the lady who's died, Anne, the daughter. And I said, it's Father Philip from Holy Road. She said, oh yes, I know, I recognise the accent. And I'm not embarrassed about having an accent that says where I'm from. I sometimes don't think I have a very strong accent. But obviously I must do. My mum always bred it out of her. She was an English teacher, my mum. She always spoke very properly and insisted that we spoke very properly. And I think I might have said before, my dad, who, came from a different kind of background and didn't have that kind of understanding, was always the butt of her, telling her off because he didn't finish a word properly or didn't sound the G on the end of a word and all that. So it just made me smile, and it made me think about different accents. I love the northeastern accent, having spent 6 years in seminary in the northeast. It's a really nice accent, the Geordie accent. I was watching a programme on, I think it was Gold, Ricky Tomlinson and Ralph, whatever his name, Little, were doing a tour of the north. They used to both be in the royal family, which actually was probably more Manchester than Liverpool. But obviously Ricky is very much a Liverpool person. And they were talking about accents. And I'd say you're a posh Scouser. Well, that's okay. I like that, Pauline. I can live with that. A refined Liverpool accent. Thank you, Christine. That's very nice. You loved the jig at the end of that. I know, I'm sorry. It was silly. Somebody sent me a a message about, it was somewhere in Ireland, the priests had done a jig at the end of Mass and it had gone viral. And I thought, well, anything they can do, we can do better. So I thought, well, why not? Is that light switch on the wall wonky? I'm not sure there's a light switch on the wall. Well, not that you can see anyway. Don't think it's wonky. Never mind. So it just made me think about accents, and and if it's, I think accents are lovely. It's one of the strengths of this country, isn't it? I think the variety of accents. I always remember when I first moved to St Helens, and St Helens, is at the most 15 miles from Liverpool, straight down the road. 10 minutes in a car, 15 miles because it's on the motorway. But it wasn't just the accent that was different. It was the words they used. I couldn't believe the number of people, children, who said to me, "Will you say a prayer for my mother because she's died?" And I remember saying to the head in the school, this was at St Vincent's in Parr, the school is now Holy Spirit, that they said that so they were saying that their mother had died, and I said to him, "There's an awful lot of people whose mums are dying," and he said to me, "No, in St Helens, your mother is your grandmother, and your father is your granddad." And I could never get my head around that. So I remember walking down the street there, and a young lad from the parish says, "Hello, Father," shouts, and I said, "Hello," whatever his name was. And he said to his mate who was next to him, or his mate said to him, is that your granddad?" This was a long time ago when I didn't look like a granddad. If he'd said it now, I could understand, perhaps. It's just funny, isn't it, how accents can, such a short distance. In St Helens, and I don't know if there's anybody from St Helens watching this, but I'll get into trouble. But they didn't even have the same sense of humour as we had. You had to explain everything. They just didn't get things as quick as we do in Liverpool. Sorry, as quickly as we do in Liverpool. So it's really interesting. Priests with Liverpool heritage have a different way of pronouncing grievous. That's an interesting thought. So Rochdale. Maureen's asking about the tomatoes. I had 2 tomatoes ready, and I was a bit disappointed because when I picked them, the bottoms of them were all kind of black. Don't know why. And I noticed on one of the plants, must be something wrong with one of the plants, but there's another tomato ready. I'm going to show you. So you'll have to come with me. I don't know how easy this is to see, but and the light is probably too. I hope you can see that tomato. So there's today's lunch. So I'm very pleased, I'm very proud. Men in St Helens call their wives our Maud. Right, okay. Yeah, that's interesting, Lisa. So accents, fascinating, rambling thought, isn't it? Fascinating thought about accents. Overwatering. Okay, Maureen, thank you. That makes tons of sense, because it's probably too hot in the conservatory, or has been, for the tomatoes. And they're called slipper beddies. Oh, don't know what that means. Nice tomato. I'm glad you said that. So I'll have to be careful then. I'll be more careful about the tomatoes. Oh dear, somebody from St Helens. No offence, that's all right. Good. I wanted to just share a couple of other thoughts for a moment. I've invited Father John to come. Sandra, yes, I do feed the tomatoes. Only once a week, though. Just once a week. I've invited Father John Butchard to... He definitely is Scouse, you support Everton, exactly. Exactly. Well done, Mr. Green. Good Evertonian there. It looks like a nice tomato. It does look nice. I've invited Father John to come and say Mass one day this week on Wednesday. So I'll be there, but we'll be socially distancing. We'll keep well apart. So I just wanted to say that because, I thought it'd be nice for him. It'd be nice for you all to see him. So, yeah. That's a good point, Sylvia. In Liverpool, they always say the Asda. It's a really strange thing, that. I'm going to the Asda. Not I'm going to the Tesco or I'm going to the Morrisons. But in Liverpool, we always say the Asda. It's very interesting, isn't it, that? Fascinating. Somebody will write a thesis about that one day. Why Asda is the Asda. So when I'm going to the Asda. No, you don't say I'm going to the Tesco. You say I'm going to Tesco. Yes, Joan, most things keeping them watered. Be better if I were a red, certainly not. So Father John is going to celebrate Mass on Wednesday, which will be nice for him. It'll be nice for, I hope, for us all to see him, and that'll be lovely. So that's on Wednesday. I was also thinking about, I don't know about you, but I think something I said at Mass yesterday morning. I had a list of things to do, and I don't know whether that you all, begin the day and think, I've got to do this, this and this. I don't know whether you write a list or whether... My brother Simon, and he sometimes watches this, not often, but sometimes, is mad on lists. I mean, he's a bit obsessive on lists. I mean, he does everything on... If it's not on the list, he won't do it. So it's really interesting. But, so a to-do list, I think, is very helpful. Yeah, sorry, the strap on the hand is after I fell 4 weeks ago from coming from the Asda. And it was okay, and I left it for 4 weeks and had an x-ray on Monday, and there's a hairline fracture in a bone. So it's fine, it's just supporting while the healing. It's actually much better since the strapping was on, because I'm not in any pain, and it was painful before. The pain's gone, so that's great. So to-do lists. Do you go to the Aldi? That's interesting. Isn't this fascinating, this conversation about the Asda and the Aldi? Is it because it starts with a vowel, whereas Tesco doesn't? Who knows? It's really quite interesting. So to-do lists. And sometimes it's good, isn't it, when you write a list? And when you write a list, and you can tick off things you've done. So on my list yesterday, if you were listening for Mass, I did certain things. I didn't do them all. I don't write a list. I do sometimes when I'm very, very busy and I feel a bit overwhelmed by everything I've got to do. I write a list, because then it's good to put a tick next to the things you've done. And it means you don't have to worry about all the things to do. You kind of just set them aside and do them. So it's fascinating, isn't it? The kind of things that we do to help us. But as I say, my brother Simon, who's absolutely, he's rigorous about a list, and he won't do anything that's not on the list. So people from Kirby call the town centre towny. Yes, so it's lovely. Next Sunday, I've put something in the newsletter about having a time for prayer on the steps of the church. So it will be interesting to see how we do it. I mean, I'm going to say now, if it's not safe, we're not going to do it. I mean, we're going to do it at 2 o'clock, a little blessing, 2:15, 2:30, 2:45, and 3 o'clock. So if you're out on a walk around that time, just come in, just stand for a moment, keep away from everybody else, and just receive a blessing. There won't be singing. We're not encouraged to sing publicly anymore at the moment. And if you're in a car, please come and I will bring the monstrance, the Blessed Sacrament, to you and give you a blessing, because next week's the feast of Corpus Christi. So I hope we can do that. If the R rate goes up, then I'll announce we're not going to do it. I'm not going to do anything that will put us at risk. So it's not a service, it's just a chance to come and slowly walk through the church car park at the front of our church, where the Blessed Sacrament will be on an altar at the opening of the porch. So we'll hopefully do that next Sunday, and then, but I will tell you at Mass next Sunday. I'll hopefully put something in the newsletter and be able to say something at next Sunday's tea and chat. So watch this space. But it would be a nice thing to do. It's the Feast of Corpus Christi, the body and blood of the Lord, and it will be a nice thing to do, hopefully. And I think we can manage that within the regulations and in the bounds of being safe, because that for me is what's most important. That I've said a number of times, we're heroes because we're doing it. We're doing it. We're socially distancing. We're keeping in. We're not being silly. Most people aren't. Some people are being daft, but most people aren't. So I think it's really important that we keep doing that. It is, as I say, it's part of being a hero of the faith of our fathers. That's why I wanted to sing that hymn at the end of Mass today. I'm going to stop in a few minutes. This has been 20 minutes nearly. So I hope you all have a good week. I hope, please God, that we'll be able to announce times when you'll be able to come into church and say a prayer and light a candle and do all the things that I know for us Catholics mean. I was cross this morning. I was in the bath at 10 to 8 listening to LBC, and they had an Anglican bishop on, and he was very dismissive of Catholics wanting to pray in church. And I don't know, I was just very cross. I nearly rang them up, but I didn't. So it'll be, please God, it'll be interesting to see what we can do. But again, we're going to be safe. So we're definitely going to be safe and do our best. So look, I hope everybody has a really great week. Let's keep looking after each other. Thank you again to the volunteers in the parish who are doing shopping for people. I mean, it's interesting because we've not had a lot of requests this week, which is great. It means people are able and finding other ways of doing that, because we were only there like as an emergency service, but I'm glad we've been able to do that. So, there haven't been that many, but we've been able to help. Thank you for those who've been bringing things for the food bank. We were able to take them, so that was lovely. Again, and we were able to make a donation money-wise. Somebody brought some money for the food bank, so thank you for that. So who knows what this week will bring. I know for myself, in terms of work-wise, that we've got things ready for the diocese for the opening of churches. It is very complicated. The things that we need to have, it's not straightforward. There's a lot of work. We've put together 70 packs of things with gel and with signage, with all those kind of things that need, with tape to mark off benches and all those kind of things. You may have seen some of it in our church as we tried it out. There's a video that's been done using our church as an example. So it's wonderful what we can do, please God, but it's a lot of work. In one sense, it's much easier if we don't have the churches open, but that's not what we're about. But we're going to make sure everybody's safe. So thank you for joining in this little chat. I hope you have a good day. I did a lot of cooking. As I made 3 shepherd's pies yesterday, and I received at the door, 3 people came with goodies to the door yesterday. Thank you. So I've got lots to eat, not just today, but this week. This cake was one of the goodies. There was another cake. Thank you for that. There was a gin and tonic, which I had last night while I was making the shepherd's pie, or finishing off the shepherd's pie. So thank you. It was a non-alcoholic gin and tonic, but it was very nice even in spite of that. So thank you very much for that. It was much appreciated. It's really nice to have those treats, gin and tonic and some hand cream, which I have used this morning. Hemp, I think it was. Don't think that's illegal, not at the moment anyway. So thank you. Please look after yourselves, look after each other, and I can't wait till we can be back together again. It'll be lovely, but we can be together in this way. So thank you all, and stay safe.